Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Astral Beacon. And this is for Monday, October. Let me make sure. I always lose my time. October 5th. And so, good morning. And so that brings us to October 5th. And this is the first Monday of Halloween. I want to thank everybody who's been following us and who's been dealing with the Halloween Psychic Fair and other aspects of what we've been doing. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the fact of the energy around it. So we put up the Astral Beacon last week, and people have now started to talk about that a little bit. And that is the actual projection of it. And how did it work? Well, first of all, we create magic around the idea of the Great Crystal Web. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you haven't, go to the Great Crystal Web on Facebook and or on Corellian.com. We have lots of aspects of the Crystal Web. And every month we take care of the Crystal Web. We do lots of energy. Over 1 million crystals have been planted in the Crystal Web across the world over the last 30 plus years. And so we did a crystal ball that we had used in a oracle ritual to call the oracle into the internet, to call the oracle into our lives, to call into the ability to increase the amount of people who could see and speak in the psychic world, especially with the dead. Last year, October 31st, 2019, at 11:41 a.m. in Salem, Massachusetts, around the bewitched statue, the most singular recognized item of importance there. Items take on power as they're viewed, as they're gained attention. And so the bewitched statue, Samantha Stevens, not Elizabeth Montgomery, but in her facade as her acting as a witch, which affected all of us so very much, and that it became part of the process. It becomes enchanted with that much attention. It becomes valuable to a lot of people. People want to be near it. People want to be part of it. We utilized that energy last year to create a system where people can feel that energy, and it worked. It worked really well. So we took that crystal ball. Most of all, we enchanted it once. It was enchanted, so we laid another layer of enchantment, and we put it above where we have several crystal access points. 3 of them, in fact, right there. 1, 2, 3, for about 3 different people, in order to provide energy to the system. So we provided that access point to the crystal ball, which is hanging above, and it's amongst a fairy village, a fairy town that was part of a experiment slash summoning earlier this year on 8/8/88. That was the original Crystal Web date. And so we did on 8/8, the anniversary of that, and brought forth a lot of fairy energy. And it's been very fascinating. It's been very interesting going through that process. And so now the Astral Beacon is then fueled by the Crystal Web to send out a signal so that people can be attracted to it and to come towards it in their dreams, in their sleep, in their spirits, whatever they want to do, they can find a great space to share. And that's been fantastic. And so we set that up, and people have now reacted to it. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit this week, Halloween Psychic Fair, which is very, very important. It has many great psychics. We're going to be starting to reveal a lot more of those psychics this week. This week, you're going to see, prior to the Columbus Day weekend, as we call it in America, or for those who want to do it, the weekend for Indigenous people, as that's got to be replacing me. But this weekend, we're going to go ahead and during this week, we're going to be providing you a lot more information on the psychics themselves. I'm fascinated, and I'm really, really hopeful that people will enjoy this as much as I have been. Okay, questions of the day. People have asked how to contact me. You can contact me at edthepagan@gmail.com. You can direct me by direct mail on Facebook. Just about anywhere you find the Ed the Pagan name, you can probably contact me. The best way right now is, of course, the email or through a Facebook Messenger. I'm spending a lot of time there. You can do it on Twitter as well. Direct message me. And so this process is we're doing these sort of actions, sort of it. So somebody said, well, we asked about the dead, and there's a couple of questions about the dead. Let me go ahead and start with that. So one of the questions of the dead, and let me get that through you, was about the fact someone was asking about a phone call and that they were being prevented. Um, Misty was being prevented from being able to answer it by a person. So they knew that the dead person was on the phone trying to talk to them, and they even said, "Oh, there's a person on your phone," but refused to give them the phone, really refused to give them access. And one of the interpretations, the interpretation I came away with was the idea that the energy, the ideology, the sort of energy that they presented, was that they were trying to hold back a secret that the dead was trying to communicate that this individual or this group that this individual represents or somehow embodied in that individual was someone who is holding a secret from the past for them, especially maybe connected to this individual. And people then you can ask what type of thing would that be, and that would be like inheritance, or something bad happened, or even the reputation of the dead. Remember, people will go a great deal to be nice to people after they're dead, even though they would never be in person. I mean, so remember, tell people that you love them while they're alive. They don't want to hear it when you're dead. They want to hear it when you're alive. Okay. The second thing is the other question is Halloween, Samhain, this time of year, known for bringing out more of the dead? And the answer is, of course it is. Of course it is. And so that it is that. And thank you. People ask us, people call me or text me all day and night. It's been such a fascinating thing. So this is, and the answer is yes. Traditionally, the harvest season, when everything else is starting to die, when nature's beginning to cut itself back, when Gaia herself begins her journey into winter, Persephone's path, we see that basically the dead have a space of energy. People ask, well, that foliage, one of the old beliefs is that foliage plants around a witch helps them prevent negative energy from reaching them. Why do witches live in the forest traditionally? They're covered by all that foliage. It prevents a lot of negativity coming towards them. So as that starts to fall away, there's this sense of the dead, sense of death in the air. And in the ancient times, this was the season we had to most worry about, making sure you had enough food. You knew if you had enough food by this time to last the winter. You're beginning the harvest. And we just went through the harvest moon, so you're looking at that. And so death is very much part of our mentality. We of the modern society are very, very fortunate that we don't see winter as critically dangerous. And we don't store up food, and we don't work towards the days where we will not be given out of our houses because of the snow. Some of us don't even live in areas that have snow. So this idea of the mourning of the dead is very much a strong part of it. In warmer climates, there are different times of the year where they have death mournings, but especially of the very snowy north, where their death stalks, and it becomes part of our mentality. And yes, we see the dead, and the veil becomes, they can say the veil has become thinnest. And this year the question has been, is the veil been ever thinner than it is now? No, there's not a question. Not in our sense of it. This has become a very hard place where the veil is. Has it become lower? Of course it has. There's some places where it has diminished for a while, and there are tales and stories of the crossings of ghosts and fairies and spirits that cross. As a nation, as a world, we've never seen the veil thinner. We have never seen more practitioners in history, cumulatively, I'm almost willing to bet, who are practicing mediumship. Now, while there's always been people who practice mediumship, spiritualism, shamanism, these sort of possessive natures where they take the spirits and deal with them, we've never had so many practitioners. And we can teach you, we are learning more about that all the time. And if you want to know how some of this works, Brain Magic by Phil Farber is coming up. And also we have Appalachian Ghost Stories coming up by Byron Ballard. We have the Ouija board, and another one is the Ouija board debates coming up. And we also have, oh my gosh, what is it? It's so cool. We have other aspects like Quick Start Tarot. We have clairvoyance. We have a lot of classes, but particularly we have all of these. Halloween Psychic Fair. But so that basically that this time of year the veil comes out. What is the veil? I've been asked this question. The veil The veil is a perceived energy that separates the living from the dead, the living from the spirit, the living from the other realms. And it's done so for our protection primarily, because we are unable to manifest, or we're unable to function in the more spiritual, less linear, less uh, Euclidean geometry type of world. We're very much caught in our world. And so when you see the dead, we see this as a miraculous thing, a powerful thing, a useful thing. I mean, a frightening thing, a scary thing, but it is a thing that is different than our normal reality. Whereas time itself is moved forward linear, as we're used to. We're used to linear time moving forward, straight forward. Other times in other realms don't work quite the same way. And so when it crosses over, we're able to see these things. It frightens us. It changes the context of what our reality really is. So there we have on that. All right. And so the other question is that several people have said, what about shadow people? Tell me about shadow people. Okay, so shadow people have several different manifestations, but primarily they look like shadows. People that are shadows that sit and sometimes very tall, sometimes very short, but they stand at the edge of our society. If you ever look at a crowd and see all those, when a crowd shows out shadows, it's great. But if every once in a while, if you try to attach those shadows to the people, they go, oh yeah, that's where the shadow's coming from. There are occasionally shadows which appear and can appear more substantial. And they're mostly watchers. A few people have had some experiences with them, and they're frightening experiences. But for the biggest part, they're watchers. And a lot of people feel ill intent from them. Like they're there as harbingers of danger and things of that nature. But for the biggest part, most of the encounters with shadow people are just more frightening and more scary than they are been substantial to it. People live with them. There are several people I know who have lived with them for years, and they're very confusing entities. Are they there? Yes, for practical purposes. And when the veil comes down, there seems to be more of them. And people have talked about more of them this year. So that's a big issue. So this year is going to be and continues to be a very, very big year for spirit energy. It's the greatest amount of spirit energy we've ever seen. It's one of the reasons we put up the Astral Beacon to kind of help these energies out. And never before have we seen more spirits, more unrestlessness in our spirits, more practitioners of the mediumships, more practitioners of Ouija boards, more practitioners of anything drawing this energy to us. So with this energy, I think that is a fantastic ability to take a look at it. So, when you talk about the shadow people, watch for it. You may see more of them. You may see more fae, but you're definitely going to see more spirits. And so now the one thing you need to remember is to ground yourself and maybe take care of your ancestor altar. Prepare yourself for that sort of energy. By the time we get to the end of the month, let us mourn, let us mourn, let us mourn. The great mourning ritual will help us manifest and to protect our energies. And throughout that whole time, learn how to be better psychic. Get the Halloween Psychic Fair and get some readings. Find out where the world's going for you. So I'm Ed, and I'm so always happy to be here in the morning. And I hope soon we'll have more interaction. Remember, if you want to talk to me, Ed the Pagan at gmail.com, Facebook. Enjoy. And you know what we're going to do today? We're going to make this a great day.